Welcome back into the Door Report, episode 232 on a lovely Wednesday evening. This time we keep mixing the days up. It's really throwing me for a loop. It's been Tuesday, Thursday. Now we're Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023, 3 days away from Vanderbilt's matchup against Hawaii in week 0, August 26th. The boys will be buzzing in lot 2. We have a lot to get to today, but welcome back into the Door Report. We are presented by Corey Perkins of Parks Realty. We have some updated information for you guys out there. Corey made sure that we had the most updated information as far as his email address and phone number are concerned. So if you want to get into contact with Corey, whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to move homes, you can reach out to him at 615-987-8623, or you can contact him via email at coreyperkins@realtracks, TRACS tracks.com. Again, that phone number is 615-987-8623, and that email address is coreyperkins@realtracks.com. Wanted to get that in there early before I got too excited and got going into this beefy episode 232. Trevor, we have a lot to get to as Phoebe has already joined the picture.
While you were doing that wonderful job at the ad read, by the way, I was watching her lurk up and I just started to shake my head because I knew what she was about to do. But before we get into this, shout out to Corey and his wonderful wife, Zoe. This Friday, it'll be August 25th. They are going to be getting married. So absolutely congratulations to them. Nothing but the best towards them. Absolutely wonderful people. So I wanted to give them a shout out. Wedding is in 2 days.
2 days.
Yep, 2 days.
3 days to kick off.
Congratulations, guys.
2 days to Corey and his wife's future wife's wedding. So fiance. There we go. That's the word.
For the next few hours.
Fiance. So congratulations to them, and thanks, Corey, for the support and helping TDR keep the incredible black and gold coverage going. As Phoebe's heard something and is now looking off into the distance. Phoebe is now she's quite the little attention whore. She was the star of last episode. And now she's up a little earlier this go round.
She loves watching herself in the camera. I can already tell. I can't see her eyes right now, but I'm looking up at the camera and I can tell that she's going to try and attack the cord at some point. See, Phoebe, I know you see yourself in the camera right now. So
she was a guest. Now maybe regular recurring guest.
Executive producer.
I don't know.
Executive
producer, just in charge, just producer. The entire production team.
Yes, there. This is just this gal.
But outside of Phoebe and her future production responsibilities in her new role, we do have a lot to get to in episode 232. There was some guy that you invited on the podcast that really wanted to come on. I can't remember his name right now. I'm sure we'll get into it, but we're not going to give that much attention. A little bit of back and forth. You know, he was unserious. I mean, it was never serious. Just trying to flex on us a little bit. It's a waste of time to even discuss it. But we have the TDR tailgate kicking off at 8 a.m. when the gates open this Saturday in Lot 2. The depth chart, as Trevor cracks open an ice-cold Diet Coke, the depth chart was officially released by Vanderbilt. I'm not sure there were really too many surprises on that, but we'll discuss that a little bit. And then we will dig in to the Hawaii game and the preview and also our predictions for what we expect to see this Saturday as Phoebe begins to attack the cord. Before we get into all of that, Trevor.
The little claw's out. I see it.
The claws are already out.
The little claw.
The claws are out. Before we get into that and get into your thoughts on a very busy week here at TDR, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes or Spotify. It's now time for breaking news. We're back, Trevor, and ready to get into this preview. First, before anything else, just for about 30 seconds, and I'm not even going to ask for your thoughts on it because I don't want to give any more attention and give him the attention he wants. Chad Withrow had a little back and forth with the TDR gang and some Vanderbilt fans over the last week or so. I didn't give it a lot of attention. I sent out one tweet after a few brewskis on Saturday, called him an insecure cuck because he is. And then in response, didn't tag me in any of this. We kind of went back and forth, and I invited him to the tailgate on Saturday. Said, want to do a live pod since I'm apparently afraid to meet you in person and say that in person. And he said, what time? I said, don't worry. We're out there literally all day. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. It's going to be impossible this Saturday. I just can't do it. I've got to coach my 8-year-old daughter's softball game, and then I have prior engagements. He was never actually going to join our podcast. That was never a real offer. He was trying to do what Clay Travis used to do on Twitter and quote unquote big dick us by saying, you guys don't even have a studio. It's not 1986. We don't need a studio. We also don't live in our mother's basement. We thought about driving to my parents' house and actually broadcasting from the basement just as a stunt, but
Will actually pays my rent. So.
Yeah, I actually do. Trevor would be homeless, and
Yes,
he would be.
Will is my saving grace.
But when I just stopped responding, stopped even engaging, because I was like, yeah, I'll join. You know, I don't think he has anything to add as far as intelligent discussion goes, and I don't think I'm going to add anything as far as it goes, because he called a $300 million investment high school level, which is the issue that I took with the comment, which he's wrong about that. But then I saw in some responses where he said, I'm definitely feuding down, but I want people to know that if they're going to name call another media member in town, shout out to Chad calling me another media member in town, that they can get the opportunity to do it face to face. I'm happy to meet and have a conversation and explain why it is bad form. Thank you, Chad, for offering to explain media etiquette to me as an employee of Outkick. All right. Then he goes on to say, after someone responded with 63 followers and said, now that's keeping it G, Chad. I can respect it. Chad said, appreciate it. Someone has to instruct the next generation. Shout out, Chad. We are the next generation, Trevor.
Up top.
Hell yeah. He said, I'm putting my dad powers to the test. I already have a father. I'm not going to listen to you. Suck my dick, Chad. That's what I have to say. Meet us in lot 2. I'd be happy to join, call in the show, debate why a $300 million investment is not high school level. Trevor, anything to add?
Nope.
That's it. All right. Now on to the actual episode. The TDR tailgate kicks off at 8 a.m. It's going to run till about 5:30. Trevor, what can everyone expect in lot 2? And will you be in attendance? There is something going on Twitter today. Will you be there? What is your status for the tailgate in lot 2 on Saturday? Will you be suiting up?
Da-na-na, da-na-na. We are here from Will's apartment where he pays my rent with breaking news on Hack Squad Jim Duggan's status for lot 2, section F, Saturday, August 26th. For those of you who don't know, it's a slow news day. Hack Squad Jim Duggan left his job early, got permission from his boss, was not feeling good, didn't feel good at all, left work early, just went to bed and took a nap, and then woke up at like 3 o'clock. Right now, or I should say earlier, he was deemed day-to-day by coaching staff. Didn't know what it was, didn't know if he had a fever, didn't know if he was just sleep-deprived, didn't know what was going on. But we have inside information from the source. I spoke directly with my alter ego, Hack Squad Jim Duggan, and he told me earlier, the voices in my head were going rampant. And I said, you're going to have to kill me to keep me out of lot 2. You're going to have to put a gun to my head and pull the trigger. Joe Biden, you're going to have to bring in the National Guard because I ain't going nowhere. 8 a.m., 7:30. I don't care if it's 5:45 in the morning. We're going to be in lot 2. I will not drink as much as Will. I will probably be drinking lots of Pedialyte because I got to stay mentally sharp for the boys. The boys need me. Some girl on Hinge is like, what are you doing 6:30 Saturday night? I said, sorry, Sadie. The doors need me. So breaking news, Hack Squad Jim Duggan will, of course, be in attendance. If you actually thought I wasn't going to show up, then you obviously don't know me. You would have to kill me to keep me from going to the tailgate in lot 2, section F. It was always lot 2, Will.
It was always lot 2. Breaking news and breaking hearts. That's what Trevor Hulan does.
Sorry, Sadie.
On the pod. Sorry, Sadie. Sorry to break your heart here. Hack Squad's going to be inside First Bank going crazy.
First Bank, I will be inside
he's
you.
Got to bring the violence, but absolutely electric. I can't wait to clip that and put that part out right there, Trevor, as we try to do a few more of those video clips of the pod.
This means something to me.
But
this means something to me.
Every single person listening to this podcast needs to come to the tailgate, needs to come to lot 2. We need to have the lot buzzing. The environment in lot 2 is going to be fun. It's going to be incredible. We're going to have food. We're going to have drinks. We're going to have the games on the TV. We're going to have music going, a lot of tents, a lot of options for food, Hawaiian chicken, burgers, hot dogs, anything you can think of. And the boys, Trevor, the boys are going to be buzzing.
That's what the boys are going to be sounding like. I can't wait. Dude, you want to know what? I think part of the reason I was so tired was because last night I couldn't go to sleep and I was just thinking about the tailgate. And I was just thinking about, dude, it's like, just imagine with me right now. It's about 3:30. Vanderbilt and lot 2 is going crazy. The boys are inside Magoogan getting ready. And then all of a sudden, Dynamite comes over the speaker at lot 2 at 100% volume, so loud that my little peanut brain inside my skull starts to rattle. It just bounces off the walls.
And it's looking like it's going to be a hot day out there. We are going to have waters. We are going to have Gatorade if you need them. It's going to be a hot day. You got to be gritty.
You do.
It's time to bring out the grit. 97 degrees, sunshine. But I can tell you one thing that's better than rain.
Oh, yeah.
I just keep looking at that forecast. I don't care if it's 110 degrees. I just don't want rain.
Yep.
That's it. And it doesn't look like that's in the forecast. So bright and sunny forecast for the lot 2 TDR tailgate. The TDR flag will be flying high. So you will be able to see where we are. But there's a little bit more to get to here in this episode, Trevor. Vanderbilt released the official depth chart.
They did.
I don't think there were a lot of surprises. There were also not a lot of oars on the depth chart, which is very nice to see. It's very nice to see a lot of the main positions are settled. The only oars on this depth chart were at the 3rd string quarterback position, Walter Taylor or Drew Dickey, and at the place kicker position, Jacob Borsilla or Brock Taylor, which we discussed in, I think it was the defensive and special teams preview we discussed. Okay. I was about to say the offensive preview, but that was going to be wrong. I'll run through the list here, name off the starters, and then we can discuss anything that sticks out to you on the depth chart here. But at quarterback, A.J. Swan. Running back, Patrick Smith, named as the starter here, not an or next to his name, with Chase Gillespie as the backup at the running back position. That stuck out to me. At wide receiver, you have Will Shepard, Quincy Skinner Jr., and Jaden McGowan, all starting. At tight end, Justin Ball. At fullback, or F back, I'm guessing that's fullback, you have Logan Kyle. Left tackle, Gunnar Hansen. Left guard, Delphin Xavier Castillo. Center, Julian Hernandez. Right guard, Bradley Ashmore. And right tackle, Junior Azebu. Anything stick out to you, Trevor, on the offensive side of the ball that I just read off?
Not really. No.
It's about what we
about what everybody expected. Yep.
Pretty much what we expected. The only, I would say, even slightly surprising thing that I just read off is Patrick Smith winning that job outright. I think there was a little bit in my mind that was expecting to see an or next to Patrick Smith and Chase Gillespie, or see possibly Chase Gillespie take that starting job. To me, that's a good sign that Patrick Smith has taken that job despite not hearing a lot of buzz and his name plugged a lot in pressers. I was expecting Patrick Smith to take that role as RB1, even though I think we will see a lot of running back by committee. So seeing his name at the top of the depth chart is a positive to me.
I did hear a lot of people discussing the fact that Richie Hoskins is second string over Junior Sherrill. Maybe that is a little bit surprising, but to be honest, this early in the season, how the depth chart is arranged doesn't bother me. Like, that specific arrangement doesn't really bother me.
Yeah, and having Junior Sherrill listed as well is significant.
Yeah.
That means you're
going to see him play.
And he might be listed below as that kind of third string slot, because keep in mind he's a freshman. He's 5'11", 172 pounds.
Yeah, small.
He's going to have specific plays, specific packages. He's not an every down type of guy. He's just not. I mean, Jaden McGowan's small, and he's 5'8", $181.
Yeah.
He's got 10 pounds on him and 3 less inches. Okay, and he's considered very small, unable to hold up to the hits. So Junior Sherrill, I actually heard Clark Lea on 104.5 3HL. He was interviewed today.
Yeah, 5 o'clock.
Yep, heard a little clip of that, and he mentioned Junior Sherrill, a guy that you would see, kind of a newcomer. You will see him on the field. I think I heard Clark Lea say.
I do think, and quote me if I'm wrong. I'm going to look over your shoulder real quick. I don't think London Humphreys is listed on the depth chart.
No,
I didn't think so.
Oh yeah, he is.
Oh,
yes,
wait,
he
is he?
Yep.
I missed it.
Right under Will Shepard. I've actually got the depth chart.
He is. Whoa, I totally
If you're
missed
watching
that.
on the video, you can see it, but I've got the depth chart pulled up on my phone. So this is
I totally missed that.
Yep, London Humphreys right below Will Shepard on the depth chart. I think that means you probably won't see him much because I expect Will Shepard to be on the field 98% of the time. But
I think you'll probably see him a lot in the second half.
I think you will see some London Humphreys. So a couple freshmen that could see significant time at that wide receiver position, hopefully will see significant time this Saturday in Junior Sherrill and London Humphreys. If you see significant time for them, that means things have gone very well.
Also probably going to see significant time for Cam Johnson at the tight end slot.
Yeah.
I think listed second string right now behind, of course, Justin Ball. Voted captain, I believe.
Justin Ball was.
Yeah, yes. I believe Justin was voted captain. Yeah. So I'm excited to see a lot of the young guys this weekend.
Yeah, and if Justin Ball can stay healthy, I mean, he can fill the role that Vanderbilt needs at tight end. I think when we did the offensive preview, I did a poor job of hitting on the fact it's not that I think Justin Ball doesn't have the potential to be a good tight end. Vanderbilt just had so much depth last year and had multiple tight ends with that talent level and with the injury that they suffered, and now having a freshman in Cam Johnson, who is 6'5", 221, but just doesn't provide the blocking that they had last season from the tight end position. Moving on to the defensive side of the ball, reading off the starters again, like I did with the offense. At cornerback, you have Tyson Russell and B.J. Anderson with Martell Height and Trudell Berry as the backups there. At the anchor position, you have C.J. Taylor. At safety, Jalen Mahoney. At the other safety position, DeRicky Wright. At the Mike linebacker, Ethan Barr with Langston Patterson as his backup. At the will linebacker position, you have Kane Patterson. At the star position, you have Anis DeCosmo with Miles Capers as his backup. At the nose tackle position, you have Devin Lee. Michael Spencer as his backup. Defensive tackle, you have Nate Clifton with Braden Babst as his backup. And then at defensive end, you have Darren Agu. And I'm going to butcher it like I always do. Issa Wutaha.
Wutaha. Yeah.
Wutaha.
Great
there we
job.
go. It's his backup, and then Linus Zonk also listed there. Trevor, does anything stick out on the defensive side of the ball?
I think we should note that Darren Agu is listed on the depth chart, but per Clark Lea in his press conference, he's out for this game. So as everybody remembers, has a little bit of a elbow issue that he suffered recently. It's not serious. A lot of people were honestly saying that he could play this weekend. A lot of people were expecting him to play this weekend. I don't think you need him. I'd say I don't think you need him. I know you don't need him. So, yeah, go ahead and sit him. Go ahead. Maybe sit him for A&M as well and let him get healthy for Wake Forest. So we will see Issa Wutaha at that defensive end position. So I'm really, really excited about that. No Davion Davis as well. Clark Lea also said in this press conference, a little bit of a flare-up in his knee from that ACL.
Prince Colley.
Yes, Prince Colley. And then, of course, everybody knows Prince Colley during camp has had a little bit of injury issues, but none of those guys are major. I wouldn't be shocked if they were all back next week.
The Prince Colley of all the players you just named off, Davion Davis and Darren Agu we are very aware of what their injury issue is. And it's not going to be said by a coach, but if they didn't think that they already had a large gap in talent and had a lot of advantage already in this matchup, that those guys would probably be able to suit up. They're not suiting up because it's the smart thing to do. The Prince Colley injury concerns me just a little bit more.
You see, I think if Vanderbilt started out with Wake Forest week 0, I think all three of those guys probably play. That's why it doesn't worry me.
I think Agu and Davion Davis do. I'm not sure.
You're not sure about Prince?
I'm not sure what's going on there. They've been a little bit more tight-lipped about what is going on with Prince Colley and his injury status. So I don't know if you know more than I do.
I've just heard it's not serious.
I keep hearing it's not serious, but we kind of know what's going on with Agu. I mean, you knew he dislocated his elbow. There was no significant damage. He'd be wearing a brace. And with Kali, it's just kind of a black hole of information.
I think a lot of it, too, is maybe still trying to learn the scheme a little bit, maybe a little bit of that defensive side of the ball, transitioning teams. Did get to Vanderbilt a little bit late, so didn't have as much time as a lot of the other guys. I think DeCosmo came even earlier than him. DeCosmo came he definitely came early. He was in the spring game.
Yeah, and as far as that star position goes, I think you'll see quite a bit of rotation with DeCosmo and Capers.
Yeah.
I think you will see quite a bit of Miles Capers.
Who's in the third string at the star?
BJ Diakite.
Yeah, I think I really, really like to see him this weekend.
Yep, I think we will. Athletic, rangy guy.
But on the defense,
sophomore.
nothing really surprised me, to be honest with you. I think the only surprise was Darren Agu being listed on the depth chart, only to quickly be nixed 5 minutes later in the press conference. But
yeah, and
that doesn't. None of this worries me.
Yeah, none of it's concerning yet, and it's who Vanderbilt opens up the season with, being cautious with guys that you'll need for game 3 against Wake Forest, making sure they don't get nicked up and they're 100% for the game, that you need all your guys there.
Yeah.
At the cornerback position, I was going to say, the guys we expected to see at the top of that depth chart did end up being at the top of that depth chart in Tyson Russell and BJ Anderson. Trudell Berry and freshman Martell Height, I think, made a little bit of a push there. And I wouldn't be surprised if you might see a little movement as the season goes on. But that's a position that has a lot to prove, especially against this Hawaii team.
I think, too, and we've been very harsh on Tyson and BJ as well. Them starting this game also doesn't really bother me, because even if Height and Trudell started, you're still going to see a ton of Tyson and BJ regardless. Even if they're not starting, you're still going to see them on the field 40-50% of the time. You know what I'm saying? So you're still going to see them a ton. So who really gets that first snap of the game honestly does not. It's not a big deal, in my opinion. I will say, going back to Darren Agu, I just want to do this little tidbit, and then we can get back to the cornerbacks. I did have somebody tell me, I just thought of this. I don't know why I totally blanked. I had somebody tell me a little inside scoop that Darren could have played. Like, if they wanted him to play, he definitely could have played Saturday. So if anybody is not keeping it up with his elbow, he's fine. He's going to be back. Somebody told me that if they wanted him to play, he would be out there, no problem. So don't worry about it.
So no concerns about Darren Agu?
No about Darren. None about Davion.
Yeah, none about Davion. He'll be coming back from an ACL tear that he suffered last year, I believe.
He even played last year too, towards the tail end of the season. Yeah. So
that's just not wanting to risk re-injury or swelling or whatever.
It's a little bit of gamesmanship
out of Clark Lea, but the last portion of this, because we do have a whole Hawaii preview that will be sure to discuss Vanderbilt's roster a little bit more, the special teams. Kickoff specialist, Will Ferris.
Close personal friend of the pod. We know you listen. Will and Jacob and Jacob Lurie. Dude, shout out to my big homie Charlie Clark, repping the mustache hard. I love it. Shout out to those guys.
And then place kicker. It's one of the 2 oars on the depth chart.
Is it oar season again?
It's oar season. Kill me. Jacob Bursilla, the transfer from Kansas, graduate transfer, and freshman Brock Taylor. There's an oar. This is going to be something to watch early in the season. And then at punter, you have Matt Hayball, consistent, going to be a stud this year, long snapper, because we got to give a shout out to our boy Wesley Schelling.
All SEC,
baby. Absolute stud, absolute dog. And then at punt returner,
hate it.
I'm going to grit my teeth here. Will Shepard, kick returner, Jaden McGowan. Hoping to see some electric returns from Jaden this year. We'll see how much that actually ends up being a thing. You don't think so?
No, I was shaking my head at the Will. I understand you have to put him at punt return, but dude, I'd almost rather as just not put somebody back at punt return, and if they just drill it and it just drops in between the one every single time, I'm like, dude, screw it. We ball.
Am I making this up in my mind? This could have been a dream that I had. That Junior Sherrill had been taking some snaps at punt returner and it looked pretty good. Or am I thinking of Martell Height?
No, I think Height. I
Okay,
think
was
it's
it Height?
Is who you're
One
thinking.
of those two. One
Phoebe,
of those.
our executive producer, where are you? Keep fact check this first. She's
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yep.
She's
Phoebe's
just sleeping
over there. We don't have a second camera to cut, but good job by our production crew.
Yeah.
Can't fact check.
Yeah, that's why we pay her the big bucks.
One of those two freshmen, it doesn't really matter for the point I'm making, was taking snaps at punt returner and actually looked okay, looked pretty good. But clearly they had seen enough where Will Shepherd just fair catch every single punt. I don't want to see him get hit. I just want to see him field the punt and get the offense on the field. That is all I want to see out of Will Shepherd returning punts this year.
If I see him like take a punt back, I honestly, like I said previously on a pod, I might throw up.
It's going to make me a little bit ill. Kicker. That's what I want to hit on.
This is interesting.
There's no controversy anywhere else. Punter is who it is. Long snapper is who it is. Wesley Schelling. Got to repeat it again. Stud, friend of the pod.
Dog.
Who do you see coming out and taking that first kick, whether it's an extra point or a field goal?
I have no idea.
Neither do I.
I have no idea. Do you see both of them a little bit? Maybe not like I'm like if Vanderbilt goes out to a convincing lead, I would imagine, and there's an opportunity to kick a field goal or an extra point.
I think you're going to see both.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Jacob.
I
don't ask me why. It's also recency bias because I met him at Door Jam. Also, huge guy. I was like looking. I'm like, oh my god, this is massive. But then I don't know. I think it's probably going to be Jacob just because he's done it.
Yeah, that's why I've said it is he's kicked in games. He didn't have incredible career stats, but has not missed an extra point.
That's all that matters.
I think you'll see Jacob first, and you'll see Brock Taylor get some opportunities, but I think it will be the graduate transfer's job to lose. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But we're gonna see. And maybe we'll see both. Hopefully the kicking game is not even controversial throughout this year. But that might be dreaming.
Well, no, I don't think it'll be controversial. Maybe, I don't know. Have we harped on the kicking game too much?
Not a lot.
Yeah, it's just kind of like,
We'll see.
Just hit the extra points, dude, and I'm good. You know what? Yeah, let's just hit the extra points, dude, and everything's gravy on this
we say
side.
that we say that now. We do say that now. We'll see how it goes. But here comes the first preview of 2023. Vanderbilt, Hawaii, week 0, 6:30 p.m., Nashville, Tennessee, SEC Network, in a loaded Saturday of college football. I mean, the matchups this Saturday are incredible, but
you want to read off a couple matchups for us, dude? I want to
let me get the Saturday schedule.
Dude, at 1:30 at lot 2, dude, we are going to, the music is going to be bumping, and we are going to be so locked in to Notre Dame Navy.
Notre Dame Navy, because we are mentally ill.
So that's why I'm majoring it. That's why I'm in a psychology program right now. It's because I'm actually trying to wonder and figure out what's wrong with me. It's really just introspective.
But really, not joking, Vanderbilt, Hawaii, probably the best or second best matchup.
Does Nebraska
Saturday.
play again?
I don't
Am I
believe
making
so.
that up?
Yeah, I don't believe Nebraska plays. I'll read them off here. Navy, Notre Dame, kicking off at 1:30. UTEP, Jacksonville State. Ohio at San Diego State. Massachusetts at New Mexico State.
Oh, she's back.
Hawaii at Vanderbilt. Incredible matchup. And then San Jose State at USC. And then you also have FIU at Louisiana Tech. So the matchups just keep building up and getting better throughout the day, but the boys will be playing. Vanderbilt, Hawaii. Vanderbilt's a 17.5-point favorite. The over-under, as Phoebe is trying to interrupt the podcast.
She just wants to read some of your notes.
Just wants to read some
Phoebe,
of these beautiful notes.
Phoebe, do you have anything to say? She said she had nothing.
Deep insight there. Vanderbilt's a 17.5-point favorite. The over-under is 55.5 points. Of course, we all remember last year Vanderbilt beating the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors in Hawaii 63-10. Timmy Chang comes into town year 2. Clark Lea, year 3. Very similar guys taking over the program kind of at the absolute bottom rock bottom where they could be taking them over. A little note I had written down, Hawaii only had 5 returning starters from 2021 to 2022. And this year, there's not a lot of returning either from a bad Hawaii team that went 3-10 last season. So, Trevor, what are your initial thoughts going into this game? How are you feeling?
And just to clarify, we're not in the Keys yet.
We're not in the Keys.
Okay, well, just looking at Hawaii's, I told Will earlier, I've been dissecting Hawaii's depth chart, and they're small. I mean, it's just, I'm not hating on them. It's just a fact. I think their offensive line averages out to like 290 pounds. They actually have an offensive lineman at running back. So I'm very interested to see him run the ball. I really want to see him tote the rock. Like if whenever they line him up in the backfield, I'm going to be absolutely electric. So I just want to see the big boy tote the ball. Very small up front. Returning quarterback. I think he threw like what? 11 touchdowns, 10
13
picks.
touchdowns, 10 picks last season.
So I was close. Yeah. Not great. And that's putting it lightly. Just offensively, Vanderbilt's defense should have their way.
To give a little bit of context to Hawaii, we did a preview of Vanderbilt's entire schedule last episode, in episode 231. But Hawaii returns Braden Shager, threw for 2,348 yards last year, 13 touchdowns, 10 picks. They lost their starting running back. But they do return Tylen Hines, who was kind of the second string guy, but averaged 7.6 yards per carry last season, 83 carries, 634 yards. They also return a little bit of talent at receiver. There weren't a lot of incredible stats put up, but Jonah Pinoke, however you pronounce that, caught for over 100 yards last season against Vanderbilt. He only caught for like 312 the rest of the entire season, but he does return for Hawaii and did have a big performance against Vanderbilt. Hawaii only returns one offensive lineman on the roster from a line that was already not very good last season. They do have some Power 5 transfers, or not Power 5, but transfers coming in. They have a nose tackle from Washington. His name is completely slipping my mind. And then they also have a cornerback who transferred in from Wyoming. Both of those guys, I believe, are going to be plug-and-play type guys. So Hawaii was awful last year. They lost. They did improve
as the season progressed.
That is something that we wanted to hit on. Is Hawaii was awful last year. They went 3-10. If you watched the game that Vanderbilt played against Hawaii last season, Vanderbilt's talent gap. Vanderbilt was so much better than Hawaii was, but
Vanderbilt wasn't talented.
But yeah, exactly. And keep in mind, and this is what I wanted to point out, and then we'll get to the 3 keys. That's the part Billy always did the intros, so I'm learning on the fly and improving as we go, but we are going to get to our 3 keys of the game for Hawaii Vanderbilt right after this. But Hawaii, after they got absolutely obliterated by Vanderbilt, obliterated by Western Kentucky 49-17, obliterated by Michigan 56-10, and then they won their FCS matchup. They went on to actually win 3 games. They beat FCS Duquesne, beat Nevada 31-16, and then beat UNLV 31-25. But it's not just that. Their games were also a lot more competitive as the season went on, and a lot of those stats got a lot better as the year went on with Timmy Chang in his first season. So before we get into our 3 keys of the game, we do need to take a little cocktail break, Trevor, before we get into the 3 keys.
Oh, God.
I almost forgot. I meant to do it before we even got into breaking down Hawaii, but everyone out there,
time to grab a crispy boy.
Take a pause and grab a crispy boy. Hope you enjoyed your delicious cold beverage and you have it sitting next to you and you're sipping on it, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. We do not discriminate here whatsoever. Trevor's got a Diet Coke. Yep. I've got a Miller Lite. It's time for the 3 keys of Vanderbilt versus Hawaii. and then we'll get into predictions. So, Trevor, what's your key number one?
My key number one, tote the rock. You have an experienced offensive line going up against a very, very small defensive front in Hawaii. Is there question marks with the running back position? Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think that really matters. I think Vanderbilt is going to be should be so much more dominant and physical in the trenches that it really shouldn't matter. Run the ball, run it down their throat, take control of the game early. I think that's the big thing for me in this game. Key number one, run the ball. I think whether it's Gillespie or Patrick Smith or Seti or AJ, I think it'll probably be a combination of all four of those guys. Just go out there and just tote that rock. Make them wish that they never got on that plane to Nashville. I want it to be an absolute maul fest.
I agree. I think we were discussing before the podcast that Vanderbilt's running attack, when you just take a step back and look at it objectively, and you're not following the team very closely, having Mike Wright and Ray Davis going into last season, the rushing attack is less proven this year going in. Vanderbilt ran for 404 yards on this Hawaii defense last season. And if you haven't, go check out the Hawaii roster and depth chart. Vanderbilt should be able to bully this team and bully this line and be able to bully them in the trenches. But Trevor, that's going to be in my keys, so I'm not going to dig into that too much yet. My number one key to the game is on the opposite side of the ball, is in the trenches on defense. Create havoc, create pressure. That's my number one key. You don't have Darren Agu, but this offensive line from Hawaii is also undersized. Vanderbilt had 3 sacks against them last year. They run that run and gun, run and shoot style offense under Timmy Chang that they traditionally ran when he was a player there. Creating havoc, creating quick pressure, and getting them out of rhythm. I think that's going to be a key and something that Vanderbilt can do. Vanderbilt had no tackles for loss last year. A lot of that is because of the scheme that Hawaii runs. Vanderbilt did have 3 sacks last year against Hawaii. I want to see more than that. I want to see 4+ sacks. I want to see Hawaii uncomfortable. And I think that's something that Vanderbilt and this front seven, and specifically the defensive line, can do, is make Hawaii uncomfortable.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think too, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's not one of my keys. I think for the defense, I think it's going to be really assuring to fans if you can get pressure, which you should be able to with your front four, dropping the rest of the defense back, maybe even getting pressure with just 3 and dropping back 7. And really, really, really making it tough on the quarterback, on the wide receivers. That's a great point. And if the defense can't do that, then it's honestly a huge red flag for me.
Yeah, that's more to also prove that we've talked about it. You look at the roster. I know Davion Davis and Darren Agu are not playing. I know Prince Kali is not playing. But we've talked about all offseason that this defensive line and this linebacking group should be one of the best that we've seen at Vanderbilt in not just recent history, but in history at Vanderbilt. This should be a very, very improved front seven. If you can't create havoc and pressure against Hawaii, you're going to have a lot of trouble creating havoc and pressure against any opponent in the SEC. So it's more proving that they can do it. And if it doesn't happen, then it's a red flag versus it proving that they're going to do it the rest of the year. It just has to be done. They have to dominate the line of scrimmage on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your key number 2, Trevor?
My key number 2 is get AJ Swan comfortable early. I think you know that this wide receiver group is probably the deepest that Vanderbilt has had since the 2012 team. Jordan Matthews, Chris Boyd, the late, great Jonathan Krause, baby. Get AJ comfortable early. Of course, me and Will on this pod would love nothing more than to see just a Will Shepherd go streaking down the field and just bombs over Broadway all game long. Did you say
the late, great
Jonathan Krause?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not dead.
No, that's not like a term you use whenever somebody's died. Just like be like, oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, he's alive.
Okay.
Yeah, late great Jonathan. No, he's not dead at all. He's thriving.
What the hell?
No,
All
no,
right,
Johnny
continue.
Krause is doing
All right,
good.
I just was like, it was taking my brain a second to process. That.
Maybe
I was
I
like,
used-
is Jonathan Krause dead?
Maybe I did use that phrase in like the wrong
Definitely, that is
situation.
100% a phrase you use when somebody has passed away.
Okay, then my
The
apologies.
late great.
Do we edit that out or do we? I'm sorry. No, I just
I hope the video captures my brain.
You look.
Thoughts as I was
Your
like,
brain looked like it stopped for a
it
second.
did. There was no I can't even remember what I was thinking about before. I can't even remember what you were saying. That just wiped my whole hard drive.
But no, yeah, this is the deepest wide receiver group that Vanderbilt has had in probably a decade. And like we said, we would love to see nothing but bombs over Broadway. We'd love to see them stretch the field. I hope they do stretch the field in this game, but I think you should get AJ comfortable in the game early. I think that does play into having the running game go. If the running game is going, and the passing game can obviously open up. But vice versa, if you have the passing game going, that's also going to open up the run game. So they work hand in hand. Maybe a couple little bubble screens to Jaden McGowan, a couple of slant routes, just some quick, easy passes to maybe just get him in rhythm, get him comfortable, and then of course open up the playbook a little bit more. But it also comes down to that offensive line, keep him protected. You should have no issues blocking this Hawaii defensive line. Now, if they get creative with stunts, with blitzes, with different sorts of packages and looks, can that present problems? Of course. It's week 0, the first live action game they've had all season. Anything can happen. Anything can sort of get them out of rhythm. There's still going to be a little bit of rust on them just because it is the first live game. So I'm not too worried about that, but do what you need to do to get him comfortable. Just a couple easy passes just to build that confidence. You know what I'm saying?
I like that because I don't have anything related to that and my keys, but that is something that I expect to happen. Is I expect this offense to get in rhythm against Hawaii. So that's a very good key to have. My key number 2, Trevor, is very similar to your key number 1, and it's control and dominate the line of scrimmage. And I'm talking about Vanderbilt's offensive line dominating Hawaii's undersized defensive line. The running game and running backs and backfield is unproven. You don't have a running quarterback this year. So the offensive line has to do the job and has to grease. They have to provide the grease. The grease gang's got to get going. The beef up front has got to get going. So very similar to your key number 1, Trevor, is establish that offensive line, keep the pressure off of Swan, allow AJ Swan and this talented receiving core to get into rhythm, which this offensive line this year should be able to do. We listed off the depth chart, a lot of returning talent, a lot of experience. These guys have been playing together for a while, and Patrick Smith and Chase Gillespie are going to have to replicate the playmaking ability that you lost with Mike Wright at quarterback in the running game.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I go into my next key, can I ask you a question about what we're going to see on offense this weekend? So if you weren't listening or you didn't read up on Clark Lea's press conference that he had this Tuesday, he made mention that Vanderbilt is probably going to run a lot of 11 personnel very early. As everybody here would love to see Vanderbilt go 4 or 5 wide and just air it out. Do you think this game, what is your expectation for the offensive game plan going into this game? Do you think they keep it kind of vanilla, given that it's week 0, given that you're just trying to get everybody loose and sort of in that mojo, in that rhythm? Or are we going to see a couple plays to where Vanderbilt sort of doesn't open up the playbook, but maybe run some sort of formations that we haven't traditionally seen, like a 4 wide, like a 5 wide, and just empty backfield and just let them toss it around the yard?
I think that's a nuanced answer and boring answer that I'm going to give. I don't think Clark Lea, after the experience he had in game 1, is ever going to take an opponent or a win for granted ever again and have just a kind of, we can just roll out this whatever game plan, vanilla game plan on offense and move the ball. I don't think that'll happen. I also don't think you're going to see too much experimentation. I don't think you're going to see a lot of things tested out. I don't think you're going to see a lot of new stuff. I think the offense is going to look pretty similar to some of the games you saw with AJ Swan last year. I think it's going to be kind of in the middle. That's a very boring answer. I think this is going to look relatively like a normal game, and the offense is going to have to mix in some more wrinkles as the season goes on and the defenses they're playing get better. I think Clark Lea expects this offensive line to just be able to dominate Hawaii. They want to build up a lead early, and then that's going to completely change my answer. Then you can do whatever you want. So I think Clark Lea probably has two things in his mind. Is one, I want to get up early with our base best 10, 15 plays that we're going to run, treat it as a scrimmage, get up, move the ball, which I believe this offense can move it on Hawaii, but it's not a very fun answer. I have no idea, but I think it's not. I don't think it's just going to be. I don't think vanilla would be the right way to describe it, because that's kind of how you describe a team that is not wanting to show anything. And I don't think that's the perspective that Vanderbilt's taking it. Is I don't think that they're trying to hide plays for later in the season. I just think that they're not going to come out overconfident ever again with Clark Lea and the staff.
And so the reason I asked that is because we always bring up the ETSU game, and I hate to keep bringing it up, but something that honestly has stuck with me from that game. I remember the first play from scrimmage that Vanderbilt had on offense. They opened up in a pistol formation, and I don't know if I don't think I'd ever seen a Vanderbilt football team in any sort of pistol formation in my entire life. So that was something. Of course, it was Clark Lea's first game, new offensive scheme, but that was something that I was like, oh my God, we have never seen this before. And so I'll ask a follow-up question. Well, it's sort of the same question, but I think you'll get the difference. From the offensive perspective, is this going to be maybe more of a run-heavy game? Or are they going to lean into their pass game knowing that it is the dominant weapon on offense?
What I want to see, and this isn't one of my keys, but if there's one thing I'm looking for in offense, I want to see wide receiver screens that get your playmakers in open field and one-on-one situations against Hawaii. Easy passes, easy low-risk plays. They get Jaden McGowan, they get Will Shepard, they get Quincy Skinner Jr. in one-on-one positions with under-athletic corners and guys on the outside against Hawaii. I think that's something you haven't seen a lot since Clark Lea got here. It's something new to work on, and it's also something that's not showing anything crazy to SEC opponents and getting it on tape. So I think that's a really tough balance at the beginning, is wanting to work on things, wanting to improve offensive plays that you're going to run later against SEC opponents, but also not get too much on film and not show these SEC defensive coordinators what you're doing. So,
and that's sort of where I sit at, because I would love nothing more than to see Vanderbilt just sort of go into maybe what we would think of as a spread formation, to where you have 4 wide receivers, 5 wide receivers out there. Maybe you have AJ in the backfield by himself, and not running like 4 verts, but easy dump off plays to where, like you said, because you've spread the field so much, you have those easy passes because there is so much space on the field.
Also, I'm going to kind of take back what I said. I don't think you're going to see a lot of what you saw last year, because a lot of last year was 2 tight end sets, and you simply don't have the personnel to do that this year. So you're just not going to see that. So yeah, I want to see a lot of screen action. I think AJ can make the decisions that need to be made. I think the offensive line is very experienced and can open up holes and get those guys in playmaking spots and run everything correctly. So yeah, I want to see a lot of screen action. If I had to say one thing specifically, whether it's wide receiver or running back, or even working in somebody like Cam Johnson at the tight end position.
If Vanderbilt goes through this game and we don't really see them stretch the field in the passing game, would that concern you?
A little bit, just because obviously Vanderbilt struggled with big passing plays last year and stretching the field, more of a quarterback situation. But you do lose big playmaking ability with Mike Wright leaving. I mean, it's something that all Vanderbilt fans kind of expected and wanted to happen. I think it was a mutual split. I don't think there's any ill will, but you lost some playmaking and big play ability with Mike Wright. So he did have the 87-yard run we all remember from last year. Vanderbilt didn't have a play over 39 yards, which, I mean, is still a decent-sized play, but over 39 yards outside of that Mike Wright run. So,
are you serious?
Yeah, I don't want to build up.
Really?
Yeah, they had Ray Davis had a 39-yard run, and Devin Body Jr. had a 38-yard reception.
I did not know that.
But I'm already getting in now, Trevor, to my number 3 key. So let's get to your number 3 key.
My number 3 key is all gas, no brakes. I want to see this Vanderbilt offense and defense come out hot, and I don't want you to take your foot off the gas. I want you to make Hawaii regret that however long ago they even scheduled this game. I want to make them regret that they even got on the plane to come to Nashville. I don't care if it is the third quarter and Vanderbilt is up 62-0. I want us to be in the playbook. I don't want it to be vanilla. I don't want gamesmanship to where you're like, okay, we're going to call the dogs off. No, I want the dogs off the leash the entire game. I want to send a message, because not only does that send a message to your fans that, hey, we're about it this year, I think it also sends a message to your team that it says, hey, yeah, these guys are lesser players. It's a lesser team than us. Yeah, it's week 0. But we want to send a message that Vanderbilt football does not mess around, and that Vanderbilt football is going to play sound football offensively, defensively, and on special teams for all 4 quarters, no matter the score.
And Vanderbilt did that last year against Hawaii, 63-10. And I think they're kind of proving what you're saying is that does create a different sense of momentum and does raise some eyebrows when you beat the hell out of a team that you should beat the hell out of. Vanderbilt's a 17.5-point favorite. I think a lot of the discussion as far as, national pick'ems has not been whether Vanderbilt is going to win this game. It's whether Vanderbilt's going to be able to cover a 17.5-point spread after winning by 53 points last year. Vanderbilt sent a message at the beginning of last year. This is a different Vanderbilt team. They need to send that message again. I like that key 3. My key number 3, Trevor, is big plays. Control them and create them. Is number 1, Hawaii runs the run and shoot style offense. Vanderbilt's question marks are in the secondary at corner. Do not give up big plays to Hawaii. Keep everything in front of you. Make them execute with a quarterback in Braden Shager that's shown he has trouble not turning the ball over.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of proven talent at receiver. Do not give up big plays. If this secondary gives up big plays to Hawaii, I have a lot of concerns moving forward on this schedule about the secondary giving up big plays. And number 2, or part B of my key number 3, is exactly what I was getting into when I cut myself off, which is you lost your big play guy, really, in Mike Wright. You don't have a lot of proven big play guys. You have Gamarion Carter, can create them. We've only seen it once last year against Missouri. Will Shepard can create big plays. Quincy Sander Jr. can create big plays. We haven't seen it outside of Will Shepard consistently.
Yeah.
I want to see multiple 40-plus yard plays. I want to see 2+ 40+ yard plays, whether it's runs, whether it's passes. They only had 1 last year against Hawaii, and it was the Mike Wright run. I want to see large, big chunk plays, because that is how Vanderbilt is going to be able to score as the schedule increases in difficulty, is big plays. They have the talent this year. They can do it. I want to see it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
So we've got our keys 1 through 3. Now it's time, Trevor.
Do we want to do predictions and a little gambling prediction? So our prediction, and then what we both think.
We'll do score predictions.
Score
well.
predictions,
so
predictions,
tell us
and
where
then
we land on the line.
Okay.
But so to recap it here, what are your keys to the game to recap them here, Trevor?
My key number 1 is run game. Get it going early. Get it going hard. I want the Grease Gang absolutely. Yeah. Poor choice of words. Pause. I want the Grease Gang absolutely mauling these dudes up front. I want it to be a bloodbath. I want to see multiple pancake blocks. I want to see you absolutely dominate and embarrass the man in front of you. I want to see Cheeks. I want to see Guap. I want to see Seti. I want to see AJ tote the rock, big plays. I want to see them get touches out of the backfield. I want to see the run game really get going and really contribute on offense. Key number 2, get AJ comfortable. Like I just said, that could come with the run game. I think it definitely should come with the run game. Give him easy passes early on, something that can build his confidence. So maybe in a drive or two, he has the confidence to throw it downfield, throw a bomb to Gamarion, throw a bomb to Quincy, to Will, and get him in a flow. Key number 3, you know it, all gas, no brakes, baby. Make them regret that they came to Nashville. I don't care if it is 57 seconds left in a 72-0 ball game. Vanderbilt has the ball. I want Vanderbilt's objective to score. All gas, no brakes. Make them regret coming to the bank.
Love that recap, Trevor. I'll run through mine real quick before we get into our predictions and score predictions for Vanderbilt Hawaii this Saturday at First Bank Stadium at 6:30 p.m. My 1 through 3 keys to the game. Number 1, create pressure and disruption on the defensive side of the ball. Number 2, control and dominate the line of scrimmage on offense. And number 3, create and control big plays. Trevor, it's time to get into our actual predictions. It's time to get them recorded. We've discussed this a lot. How do you see this game playing out, and what do you see the final score being? Vanderbilt is a 17.5-point favorite. The over-under is 55.5 points. Trevor, the floor is yours.
I think that Vanderbilt should have no problem absolutely dominating this game. They should dominate this game, and if they don't dominate this game, I think it's actually going to be a huge red flag. I think Vanderbilt should come out and in all 3 phases of the game absolutely dominate Hawaii. I think it should look like an SEC team versus a JV high school team. I know it's week 0. I know anything can happen in college football. I really do believe that at every position on the field, Vanderbilt is so much more talented than this Hawaii staff or this Hawaii football team. I think even on the sidelines and in the press box with the coaches, Vanderbilt has better coaches, has more experience with the coaches. So I'm saying Vanderbilt, a final score, maybe a little bit of a hot take. I think Vanderbilt pitches a shutout. I'm going to go. Now, this is going to be different than my prediction I gave last week. I'm going to go.
Further research has been done. So
I'm going to go 52-0 Vanderbilt.
Damn.
Bloodbath.
Damn.
So
All
with
right.
that being said, so I Vanderbilt does cover, but
the under hits.
Yeah, the under does hit. I kind of don't like that because I think the over might hit, to be honest.
It's too late.
I haven't locked it in yet,
You gotta
though.
lock it in. You gotta hit the Zen pouches and lock it in.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna take Vanderbilt. I'm taking Vanderbilt with the points and the under.
Yeah,
because I don't
you're
think Hawaii
taking
scores.
over for Vanderbilt.
I'm taking over. That's probably what I'll do. Is
Yeah.
take over for Vanderbilt
You're
points.
taking over Vanderbilt points. I think Vanderbilt's at like 35.5.
I'm absolutely hammering that to hell and back.
Yeah, I gotta fact check me on that, production crew.
Yeah.
Once again, just
He
laying
just-
around, being
yeah,
lazy.
just- I don't
But
want-
Trevor has the Doors winning 52-0, easily cover the spread, and the under hits because Hawaii is unable to score. My prediction is Vanderbilt should and will dominate this game. I'm not as confident in the complete and utter bloodbath that you are, Trevor. I think the run and gun with Timmy Chang does present some issues. Just the scheme is it's the opposite of ideal. It's a terrible scheme for Vanderbilt to be faced up against in week 1, the run and gun style where Vanderbilt's weaknesses lie in the secondary. But the players on Vanderbilt's roster are still so much better that just because they're going to struggle against that scheme, the athleticism Vanderbilt possesses is so superior. Also, Timmy Chang's in year 2. There's some parallels you can draw between this Hawaii program and this Vanderbilt program. Obviously not on the same level and same competition with Vanderbilt being in the SEC, but Timmy Chang came in to a decrepit program and was trying to redo the program in one off season. We saw how that worked out for Clark Lea in his first game of his Vanderbilt coaching tenure, losing to ETSU. Timmy Chang came out and got obliterated at home by Vanderbilt 63-10. I think you're going to see a big improvement in Hawaii, a massive jump from them in year 2. I still think they're going to be bad, but they're not going to be as horrendously awful, still ranking in the bottom 10 of almost every statistical category in the entire FBS in the Mountain West Conference, I believe they're in. That sounds kind of right.
That sounds right.
But the fact that you're ranking at the bottom of all of FBS football while playing in a horrific conference of FBS football means you were horrible. So I think Hawaii is going to take a step forward. I think it's percentage-wise going to be a bigger step forward than Vanderbilt's going to take from year 2 to year 3. But I think Vanderbilt was already significantly 53 points better than Hawaii. So I think there will be some frustration early maybe a little bit of frustration, similar to last year. Vanderbilt was
Yeah.
down. Vanderbilt
Yeah.
was down early against Hawaii. I threw
After that
a beer
first-
can into the wall.
After that first possession, I thought we were going to lose.
They charged me $200 as well when I moved out of that apartment because I threw an empty beer can into the wall and left a literally dime side, not even full dime. Like if you threw a dime at the wall, it would leave that. They charged me $200.
What did they charge you for the big hole by the door?
More than $200. All right. But all that said,
you're going to win that back this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to win all that money back this weekend on the doors because Vanderbilt covers. My dad stole my prediction, so I'm going to adjust my prediction a little bit. Steve Byrum responded to the Door Report's tweet requesting their predictions, and me and my dad had not texted, and he tweeted the exact prediction I gave or had written down. So I'm going to go Doors 48, Hawaii 17. I think Hawaii is going to be able to move the ball. I think I would be surprised if you predicted a shutout. I would be surprised if Vanderbilt's able to keep Hawaii in single digits. I think they're going to create a couple plays, and they're going to be able to score. I think it could be 13, could be 10, but I'm going to say 17 for Hawaii. I think Vanderbilt is going to struggle a little bit because Hawaii, not struggle, that's the wrong word. But last year, as Phoebe tries to knock off the Jerry Stackhouse bobblehead,
trying to break the Stackhouse bobblehead. She does not back
Phoebe
stack.
is not on the We Back Stack train.
Phoebe is one of the 5%ers. What's the 5.8 percenters?
5.8%.
Phoebe is a 5.8 percenter.
But where Hawaii's weakness truly lies, and I think their whole defense is a weakness, but Vanderbilt dominated running the ball against Hawaii last season. They averaged almost 10 yards a carry, 9.2 yards per carry against the Rainbow Warriors last year, ran for 404 yards. That's not Vanderbilt's strength this year. I think it's going to take a second for them to get in rhythm, but I think Vanderbilt's going to dominate. I mean, that 48-17 makes it sound a little closer. I think Clark's going to work in some young guys, specifically in the secondary early once Vanderbilt gets up, because they just don't have any depth. They don't even have starter depth. So I think he's going to rotate a lot in the secondary, and Hawaii's going to score kind of late. So I think you could see mid-third quarter, I think Vanderbilt could be up something like 35 or 42 to like 7 or 3. And then Hawaii could score kind of later. That's why I'm adding it, because I think Clark Lea's really going
not
to
as close as the score.
I think you're going to see Davion Walker in the game is what my prediction's riding on. A guy that was a wide receiver going into camp.
Change numbers.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but inevitably, if Vanderbilt dominates early, and I think it'll be a little bit of an adjustment, start a little bit slow, then the athletes take over and dominate, and then I think Clark is going to want to get some experience for an inexperienced secondary and real snaps. And I think that's going to result in Hawaii being able to move the ball in this run and gun offense, because they're going to want to keep their starters in and get reps for them against SEC competition and move forward in their schedule, because Hawaii has Stanford the next week.
Yeah.
On a Friday, on a short week. Hawaii's scheduled to fly to Vanderbilt and then play at Stanford on Friday. So they have a short week. That's brutal. A lot of travel for the Rainbow
Whoever
Warriors.
scheduled that should be fired.
But yeah, I think Vanderbilt dominates. Final score prediction for me, 48-17, but not as close as that score indicates, and the Doors still cover. Trevor, anything else to add on these score predictions or how we see this game going?
All I have to say is if you are not at the bank this weekend, then what the hell are you doing? We have waited since winter for Vanderbilt football to come back. We have waited with bated breath. Hope has sprung. I don't remember the last time there has been this much hope around Vanderbilt football. It's been the James Franklin years. There is real, tangible hope and expectations with this ball club. I don't care that First Bank Stadium is a construction zone. They can take the bleachers out for all I care. And that would give me just the more reason to stand and scream all game long. Tickets are still available. They are cheap. You need to be. This means too much to us. This means too much to Will. This means too much to me. And this means too much to everybody who's listening. If you were on the fence about coming to this ball game, you have no excuse. 8 a.m., the sun will be rising in the sky. Temps will be rising, and the boys will be out there on asphalt, 110-degree asphalt, waiting for our beloved Doors. The Doors need you at the bank this weekend. It's the year of the unhinged. Construction is happening. It's a wacky season. It's time to get crazy, baby.
Violence will be taking place in lot 2, but if you're not a person that likes violence, the tailgate is actually going to be an enjoyable and fun environment. We're going to have box fans hooked up. We're going to have, I think, 6 tailgate tents in total to provide shade in the grassy areas that we have. We're going to have Hawaiian chicken, hot dogs, burgers, beer, water, Gatorade. We're going to have everything you want.
Blood.
Music going, college football on the TV, and blood.
Blood will be shed.
And blood will be shed because
violence is brewing. I have violent impulses right now.
I do. Before we close this out, I do want to reference one thing. Barton Simmons quote tweeted our TDR tailgate draft graphic, and he quoted it with 8 a.m. kickoff ? I felt like he was taking a little bit of a shot.
Is that how you read that?
I don't know. I couldn't tell. It's at first I read it as like 8 a.m. kickoff. Damn, these guys are crazy.
That's how
Second, I read it as like 8 a.m. Why aren't they starting earlier? And I was like, Barton, if they open the lot at 6 a.m., I'll be there at 6 a.m. If they open it at 5, I'll be there at 5. 7, I'll be there at 7. The lot's open at 8 a.m. TDR will be getting there, getting in lot 2, and getting set up whenever those gates are open. Let us in. Sun's up. TDR's up.
Let us in. Let us in. Let us in.
Phoebe does not like that at all. Trevor, I think that's about it.
Oh my God.
3 days away. 2 days when this is being released tomorrow. Violence impending. For myself, Will Byrum, and Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 232 of The Door Report, sponsored by Corey Perkins of Parks Realty. Anchor down and let's ride.
Screw the balls, baby. Woo!